we
Uh,
we can start it. Hey, we're going to let everybody know right now that this is our first attempt at a remote, recording. I'm still in North Carolina. Noah's up north in Wisconsin, and he's on vacation with his family. And we're so dedicated that we decided we were still going to do the podcast today. So this is our first attempt at a remote podcast, and hopefully we will not screw it up. How's that
oh,
sound?
it sounds good to me.
You can leave that in. You can leave
Uh,
that in the
We
beginning segment too.
we will leave it in. Anyway, welcome everybody to Card Shop Insiders. John and I are ready to talk this week about the news. John has 26 years of experience running a card shop, and I play a few card games and have for probably a little bit more than 26 years. So we're glad that we can be with you today, and we've prepared a little bit of news and some thoughts on. I think John's thoughts today are on post-COVID card gaming, if I read the notes right. But let's take a look at the news for this week and see what we've got. We had last week was a big deal with Magic. There was the banned and restricted announcement where they banned a couple cards and unbanned a couple of cards in several formats across Magic, which had a big impact on the financial market for several singles cards. Notably, the One Ring, which was the kind of chase card or feature card from the Lord of the Rings set that had been released last year. Um, the pricing on that was expected to continue to go down after the confirmed ban, but it looks like that's not happening. The prices are kind of holding on the One Ring, and there's a lot of different ways that people have speculated that that could be the reason for. I think one of the things is that it's a limited print product, right? Like there's not going to be another Lord of the Rings release that we're aware of, and so like the what's out in the wild right now is what's going to exist for the One Ring, and if it ever comes back off of a ban list,
See,
um,
see, my gut feeling was right on this. Somebody came in because I do have a card. It was a pre-release, the One Ring, and it was selling for about $200. So somebody came in. I don't even know who the hell he was, the new guy, and he's, oh, I see you got this in there. How much is it? I checked the computer. So he did, and he's, oh, that's too much. He said, I'll give you $100 for it. I said, nope, I'll keep it. So my gut feeling was right. I kept it. He doesn't have the card. Screw him.
yeah, I mean the price had gone down pretty consistently for a few weeks right before the ban and restricted announcement, but I think it's kind of hit the market level that it's going to go to. Regular copies of it were selling for like 50 to $70 still. And the fancier copies and the release kit copies and stuff like that have higher price ranges. But
So Post Malone's $2 million investment is secure.
well, his is still the 101, right? Like
I
it's
know.
never going to go down.
I
He
know.
was never going to play with that card, so the ban on that card doesn't change his life.
What the hell is he going to do with the damn thing anyway? Just sit
The
in a
same
safe?
thing. He probably put it in. I wonder if he got it graded. I wonder if he put it in a slab. People do. People put a lot of stuff in slabs. Actually, that's a good segue into our news topic for today. There was another theft in card gaming. This one happened in England this time, and it was with Ace Grading. So Ace is a grading company that's owned by one of the British YouTubers that does Pokemon cards, I believe. They own a grading company, and they've been trying to compete with the big American grading companies to produce like slabbed cards. A couple of the features that they added to their grading program to compete was like decorative casing. It's like you could pay extra on top of getting your grade of like a 10 gem mint, which was like their highest grade. You could pay extra and have them like extend the art of your card up into the grading part at the top, or to do different color and flare on the case that the grading comes back in. And that was something that they thought might be desirable for people, instead of just having like the hard clear case with the printout at the top with the numbers in it. Anyway, they released a statement this last week stating that they believe they were the subject of a targeted, uh, not robbery because it wasn't like an in-person thing, but like a targeted theft, where after they had closed for the day, they are reporting that nearly $316,000 worth of ungraded cards were stolen from their warehouse where they receive the cards and do the grading. Um, there's been a lot of talk on the internet about the veracity of that statement, whether or not there were a targeted attack or whether or not this is some sort of a scam. Obviously, there's an issue with people like having sent in ungraded cards to get graded. They don't have grades on them yet, which means they don't have anything other than real speculative value about how much like any of the cards were worth that they had sent in. And what's going to be done in terms of like compensation. They said they're dealing directly with the people whose cards were stolen to negotiate and handle compensation. But I mean, it raises a real interesting issue. Like, what do you do um, in that's a different business than what you run and what we talk about usually, but it's a related business, the grading industry, but they get broken into and they have it stolen. I guess you got any thoughts on that, John, or thoughts on how it could relate to the regular game store?
Um, Not really. I mean, I'm going to speculate an answer. Uh, they better have good insurance because I'm sure everybody that sent in cards are going to say, "Hey, the XYZ card that I sent in was mint, 100% mint, and it should be graded at the highest quality."
Yeah,
I think they're going to have a lot of issues with that, and the insurance company. I don't know. I mean, insurance company doesn't. They don't insure at uh, the value of the grading. Uh, Basically, it's a card, it's cardboard, and unless you stipulate in advance that I've got a $1,000 card that I want to insure, and they have a rider for it, I don't know if the insurance company is going to cover that, at that
yeah.
amount.
No, I
It,
mean that's the
it
thing.
should be interesting.
That's one of the things I was thinking about is the complexity of this, at least the legal complexity of it. So you've been given somebody's ungraded card. They may like when you do like a PSA grade and stuff. I've looked at that before. You have to tell them how much you think the card is worth because it changes how much they charge you for grading the card. And so if you put it in and you say like I think my card is worth 500 to $1,000 after it gets graded, then like they say okay it's $25, and then you send the card in and then the card disappears before they ever grade it. Like how do you get like what compensation do you get back? Did you lose $1,000 worth of value, or did you lose like $5 worth of value?
That's where you're
um
going to have the problems, I believe.
yeah, I mean
Again,
and
it depends what the insurance company. I mean, if the insurance company sees a wide range like that, they're going to go at the lower. If they cover it
oh
at all,
absolutely.
they're going to say, "Well, we'll cover it for 500," and we there's no guarantee that that card is $1,000, so they're not going to cover it, and that company is in deep trouble. They're going to have a lot of problems. I can see it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think it just it like I said, it's an interesting legal question. It provides an interesting question about who do you choose to grade your cards.
Right.
Ace is not one of the big names in card grading. People are looking at PSA as usually like the top level
Or
for card
Beckett or
grading,
something like that.
and Beckett's is also up there. And if you're getting your cards graded, like, are you getting your cards graded by one of the like the up and coming competitor sites, and how does that affect value? Like, are they good enough? Like, are you wasting money? Are you saving $10 but you're losing $100 long run?
I mean, if you think about it, a couple of weeks ago we talked about GameStop
Yeah.
as being the acceptor of graded cards. You bring it into GameStop, you pay them a fee, they'll send it out. What happens if something gets stolen from GameStop? Who's responsible for it? GameStop or the company that they're supposedly contracted to send them out to?
Yeah,
You know,
I don't know. I feel like this is something I'm going to have to look into. I want to understand the legalities of it better, just from like my own personal nerd perspective. But it does create a lot of interesting questions. And then leading it back to the card store, I mean, you and I have talked before about insurance for the card shop and about the need to have appropriate coverage for lots of different things. But insuring product is different from in liability insurance, right? And so if somebody falls out of one of your chairs and gets hurt, that's your liability insurance. But then you've got like merchandise or inventory insurance that is available as a small business owner, and then how do they decide what it's worth, right? Think about what we just talked about with the One Ring. If you've got a copy of the One Ring that a couple weeks ago, like the regular boring base copy was $125, and this week it's only $70 or $50, depending on who you talk to. Like, is the insurance company insuring you for $70 on it, or are they insuring you for 25 cents?
They're insuring
So
it for the least amount
yeah, I
possible.
mean they're
I
going to
mean,
try to. This is
if
how your
I
house works.
if I bought a booster box of something of $50, and a booster box was stolen, and I put a claim in, and they're going to ask me, well, how much did the booster box cost you?
Yeah,
$50. They're not going to ask how much I could sell it for at $100. They're not going to insure it for 100. They're going to insure it for 50.
right. So that's an interesting thing to keep in mind and to remember.
Yep.
Um, well, let's jump and look again at the other parts of the news. The last piece of news I've got for this week before we jump into main topic, John, was that actually we do have some Pokemon news too, so we'll get to that. But the Star Wars Unlimited had their live stream last week where they played some games on uh, the internet. They streamed it and they talked. The developers play and talk. And in their discussion, they mentioned that they had made a big announcement that Asmo Connect, which is like the underlying account framework for their organized play software, is now accepting minors for individual accounts. So you can make an account for your 12-year-old as a parent and connect it somehow to you. I thought that was interesting. We had a prior episode several months back where we talked about age and some of these platforms that we have to use to run tournaments and stuff, and how difficult and frustrating it is for me with a kid who plays to have to manage and deal with the fact that like I can't just make their account underneath mine and authorize them to play or whatever. And so I messed around with this a little bit. As far as I could tell, they lowered the age to 17, but I can't find like what they talked about on the stream about having kids accounts, and so I'll keep looking into it. Maybe we can have an update on that again later.
You know, Noah, between you and I and the rest of the world that's going to be hearing this, I think Star Wars is in trouble. Uh, and again, this is my speculative guess, but Southern Hobby put the latest set on sale,
Yeah,
which,
jump to Lightspeed.
yeah, it's not good. Um, with Twilight of the Republic, it's on sale right now. And I talked to my sales rep this morning, and I said, "How come you put it on sale?" He said, "Because we got tons and tons of product of all the sets now." And he said they're not selling.
Mm.
That's and he said, I think Star Wars are in a precarious position right now because they're up against, and we keep talking about this, a couple of strong IPs, Magic, which is booming right now, and the people that stepped away from Star Wars, it's going to be difficult for them to step back into Star Wars and put money into it, unless you're a complete nerd like you are, that loves Star Wars. And I'll sell some boxes here and there, but I don't think Star Wars is going to be close to what it was when it first came out.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting like thing, and I don't understand it completely. But Star Wars games just can't. They just don't stick, man. I don't know why, but they get a couple years out of them, and then they cycle off, and they try another iteration. And this one, I don't know what's up with this one. At least locally, we've had a big drop off in who wants to play in the organized play at the store. Like you said, I'm a big collector and nerd for Star Wars, so I enjoy being able to open it and try to put together what we've got and find some really cool cards that match with some of my nostalgia. I enjoy playing it with my son. Like he really likes it when the new sets release, but like he loses interest in it after a couple of weeks. Is back to the classics, Lorcana and Pokemon. So I guess we'll see how it shakes out here with this new product that they're going to release in the next set coming out at the beginning of the year. They said they're going to have the new booster format, the booster pack format with the what they call them carbonite boosters that are going to be in the new one.
Like the collector packs.
Yeah, it's collector's packs for Star Wars, and we'll see what those look like and how they come around. But yeah, I don't know. I'm concerned for that. There was another big Lorcana tournament this week, so I'm still interested. Lorcana is getting like even though like our local group has kind of dwindled a little bit and relies largely on my family playing all four of us at the same time to have like substantial numbers. The international and national big Pokemon or not Pokemon Lorcana tournaments continue to happen. They just had a 10K like last weekend or
I
not
think
last.
Lorcana is going to stick around.
Yeah.
I don't think. I mean, yes, it's diminished a little bit, but I think it's going to have an uptick. That's just a gut feeling. We still get people to play. We still get. I had a guy bought a box the other day. So it's
Did
not.
you
Go
did we
ahead.
talk about the Gundam TCG? Have you had people coming in asking about the Gundam TCG, which is Bandai's newest waste of time?
None whatsoever
I'm
yet.
sorry, did I say waste of time? That was really rude of me. It's the latest product produced by the noted gaming company Bandai, who fails to produce and ship things to John.
No, it's not Bandai that doesn't ship. It's Alliance Games that doesn't ship.
Oh, my bad.
Hmm.
Alliance Games chooses not to send them to you. It's not
Well,
Bandai's
they
fault.
allocate whatever
Right,
they get. Yeah,
right.
yeah.
High
Okay.
five them. All right, that's what I got for news. John, you wanted to talk about or Pokemon though. I guess we started last week's episode. We had a brief discussion about availability of Pokemon, and I think you wanted to follow up on that with a little bit of talk before we jump into main topic.
All right. Since Wednesday, which was what, 6 days ago, 5 days ago,
Mm-hmm.
I've had 21, maybe 22 either calls or store visits asking if I have any Pokemon in stock. I am completely sold out, as is Target, Walmart, GameStop, and every other card shop in this local area. Pokemon right now is probably one of the hottest IPs as far as sales. Uh, is going to be unfortunately there's going to be a lot of kids at this Christmas that are expecting Pokemon that is not going to get Pokemon, and that's unfortunate because I think what's happening, you can find them online, but at exorbitant prices. Uh,
Yeah.
People are scalping them up. They're going to the WalMarts, they're going to the Targets, and there's no limits that these big stores impose on them. And if they see it, they're buying it and they're clearing out the shelves, and it's unfortunate, and it happens all the time. And unfortunately, it's the younger kids that'll suffer, that are not getting this product, and it's the adults that are creating this mess. That's basically what it is.
Yeah.
Now,
Well, I can
okay,
tell you, I went to Walmart up here today, and they had Pokemon cards
did
on the
they?
shelves. Yeah.
So you bailed yourself out.
Yeah, well, Kara had already done it at Target earlier today.
Oh,
She
okay.
and I went to different department stores for other stuff, but they put them right by the checkout at most of these stores, and so you can see it. And they had a big wall of them. I didn't really browse it very deep at Walmart because Kara had already taken care of it, but she was able to find a bunch of different stuff. Like I said, there was a really good variety over at
Was
they
there
went
any
Target.
surging? Was there any surging sparks? Because that's
No,
the most recent set, and that's the hottest one.
no, the Walmart boxes right now still have like Shrouded Fable and
Okay.
what's the other set? Um, anyway, they are like a set behind on that. I haven't seen a lot of the collectors boxes with Surging Spark stuff in it, but maybe I'm
Well,
I'm not
I
up to
guess
date
you
on that.
can. There's pockets of the geographical area that may have some product left, or the secondary market distributors that handle the Targets and the Walmart may have some stuff left over that they're going to put into the stores. I'm not
Yeah,
sure how they do it, but I'm glad you were able to get some for Christmas presents, and that's important. I've had a lot of people ask me already uh, about the prismatic, and I keep beating the dead horse. I'm getting one, not one case, but
yeah,
one ETB. Um, People ask me. I've seen people that I haven't seen in years. I've seen people coming into the store that I've never seen before, asking me, can they pre-order? I said, no, I'm not pre-ordering anything because I'm not sure how many I'm going to get, and I know I'm going to get one.
yeah,
And I can't play God as far as who's going to get it. I mean, you're one of my better customers, but I can't say to you, no, you're going to get it. But the other guy who buys Pokemon too, he can't get it. I just won't do that. I won't put myself in that position.
Yep.
So even when I went out to dinner last night, the guy that runs the local store, he owns the local store. He said, "You getting prismatic?" I said, "Willie, I am," but he said, "You put me on a priority list." I said, "No, I'm not. I'm sorry.
There's no
Unfortunately,
list.
I'm fortunate he didn't poison the food. You know,
Yeah. Well, you and I have talked about it, about your interest in like the upswing in Pokemon, and just trying to work with your distributor to get you bumped up on that allocations list so that you can start getting more. But
there is no working it out. I mean, I
y-
talked to Jake again this morning from Southern Hobby. All right, let me get into this Pokemon thing. All right. And let me see. I do have some, I don't know what the hell with the notes. So I'm just going to, from memory, that's a scary thought. Uh, During the pandemic, okay, we're going to get back to the pandemic.
well, this is
A
what you
lot,
had to. This is what you designed for our main topic today, right?
right. A lot of stores were in jeopardy of going out of business because they weren't getting customers coming into the stores. And during that time, the distributors were concerned because the stores weren't ordering from them. So, what the distributors decided to do, and we're not talking about any one specific distributor, we're talking about all of them because I deal with about three or four different ones, even secondary marketing ones or secondary marketers. And I asked them, why, why can you ship to an internet person who doesn't have a store? He said, well, they made a decision during the pandemic because they weren't sure if some of these stores were going to survive, and a lot of stores did go under. No, are you still there? There you go.
I blew my nose.
Okay.
I thought it would be
Um,
rude.
that's all right. Um, but what they did was they opened up accounts that did not have storefronts.
Yeah.
A lot of them did. And one specific instance, one distributor told me, he said, somebody came up and said to them, I have $50,000 to invest in Pokemon. I want to invest in Pokemon. I want to open up an account. Can I get as much Pokemon as I can get? So, to fill the void because the stores weren't opening, they opened up an account for this guy. They sent him $50,000 worth of stuff. Okay. The guy lives in an apartment on the second floor. So picture this pallet of stuff that was delivered. And
Oh
this
my
guy
gosh.
takes his pallet, box by box, or a couple of boxes at a time, and trucks it up and down the stairs until he gets his whole pallet into it. Excuse me, Noah. We're going to do this. But picture this guy going up and down the
Hold on.
stairs
Hold
with
on.
a whole pallet.
Yeah, rewind it there. I muted you for a second.
Oh, okay. All right. Now picture this guy going up and down the stairs with a pallet load of boxes. And since that time, he has become a big internet seller. So they're not going to get rid of the guy because they've already committed to him. He spends a lot of money each month on Pokemon, and he continues living on the second floor. And what he does is when he gets his pallet or two
Hmm.
up and down the stairs and brings everything up to his second floor apartment, and that's where he does his selling from. But that was to preserve the integrity of the distributor's business. Now, they couldn't have done it with Magic nor Yu-Gi-Oh or some of the other card games because you have to have a legitimate storefront. You have to send them pictures of your legitimate storefront. You have to do other requirements to prove that you're a legitimate business, that you have a viable store with play space and so forth. Pokemon, from what I understand, is the only one that doesn't have that requirement. And that's why you see a lot of the Pokemon stuff online. Uh, and that's why yours truly is not getting a big allocation because a lot of these guys are getting $1 million or more a year in Pokemon. which it's outstanding as far as I'm concerned. It's outstanding for them, but
I mean,
again, my
it's great
allocation
for
is
them.
based on that.
It's great for them, but in the model the business model of the distribution system that we've gone over in detail before on the show, you you don't have an ability to like build up and like elbow your way in to
I
getting anything.
do. I do. I can come up with, I mean, I threw out this hypothetical figure to Jake this morning from Southern Hobby. I said, suppose I committed to spending $10,000 a month. And he kind of chuckled. He said, that's not going to get you much of an allocation. He said, because we have people who are spending $100,000 a month. And he said, they're going to get the bigger allocations. He
I mean,
said,
that's
so
insane.
oh, it is. He
Like
said,
I just
but I'd have to be willing with that $10,000 to take the good and the bad. So if a junkie set comes out for Pokemon, I have to I have to buy it, and then it's my obligation to myself to get rid of this stuff.
yeah.
And this boy is not going to take that risk. That's why stores go out of business.
Yeah.
And I'm going to continue doing it my way.
Well, it's just I mean, like I mean, like I said, I that just reinforces what I said a second ago. You don't actually have a mode that you can elbow your way into it. It's not reasonable for a small shop to suddenly put, I don't know the exact numbers like from you and from the shop. I know more than like most people do about it. But like $100,000 is a huge percentage of your gross revenue, like the gross revenue, like not just addressing like your other expenses and stuff, and like having to put 100 grand on the table, like to be on the table, like that's just a high stakes poker game that you can't play in. Like you're just not invited to the party.
The risk is too great.
Yeah,
And I'll give you another, for instance. This one guy who bought a store. Okay, I'm not going to name who it was, but he bought the store, another store that I had at one time. He bought it from me, but he overbought one specific magic set, and he thought he was going to make tons and tons of money out of it. But the set that he bought tanked, and it wasn't worth what he paid for it originally from the distributor. And then he got into deep debt with the distributor, and the financial
yeah.
ramifications from that. Ultimately, he had to close the store. So it's not worth the risk. I mean,
Well,
even if I had that money, Noah, I think I'm astute enough to say, screw that. I'm not putting that kind of money into one game. Mm-mm.
Well, it's interesting. I've thought about it. You and I have talked about it a bunch in the last couple of months about some of the other revenue sources that you can use, things like Pokemon cards. In particular, Pokemon cards do really well on YouTube and on whatnot and the social media platforms. And like, if you can turn like your average or your junk product in Pokemon into video content that produces income beyond selling the product, like that gives you an opportunity to do more with it. And so like just from the idea of like the card shop insiders and trying to share helpful information for people out in the world, like I know you're not running a big social media empire that's trying to generate digital content on every single thing that you do in your store, but the modern store starting out that needs to get an edge, they may be looking to the internet and some of these digital platforms to share information and to convert product, not necessarily selling the physical card, but selling the video of them like opening the physical card or doing things with the card. So
That could happen in the future, Noah. That's in the back of my thick skull. Maybe in the future for me, and we'll discuss that at another time.
yeah, you and I can keep talking about that, but that's I mean that's the idea, right? These people that don't have overhead, they're not just selling the cards, they're making money off of opening the cards, they're making money off of videotaping the cards showing up. And fascinatingly, our one of our top videos is you opening a shipment of magic cards, right?
Yeah,
So, people are interested in that stuff, and I think it's important to consider like how you're going to give people stuff that they're interested in participating in and converting money for. But what else did we have in your notes here, John? You talked a little bit. I think you covered most of this stuff here in terms of positive and negative effects of the pandemic, and now kind of where that's left us in a post-pandemic world where you've got people got into distribution that weren't eligible for it before.
Yeah. Well,
Um,
no, I have some quick notes, and I'm just going to go over. I'm just going to
yeah, hit it with a.
maybe paraphrase some of this stuff. The positive effects of the pandemic was increased demand for trading cards. That was a positive. Online sales growth, yeah, it just boomed because people couldn't get out. They wanted to do something. So online sales, whether you be a seller or you be a buyer, boomed. It didn't really affect me that much because I was able to stay open. Uh, we took precautions. We did, curbside pickup and stuff like that. And half the stuff that I can't remember what the hell we did, but we were able to survive. And I mentioned before, a lot of stores were either went out of business completely, had to downsize, or just stabilize and absorb the losses because it was a significant loss. It cost a lot of money. Uh, and negative effects. Negative effects, store closures, supply issues, supply chain issues. You couldn't get product because it just wasn't available in big quantities back then. And the biggest thing was loss of community events. Uh, we had to build that back up again. And that's really what I guess the core value of a small store is you build a community and people will like to come in. They like to see you the following week again and again and again, see how you do. It becomes a social environment. And more so than people got sick of playing online, sick of playing arena, they wanted that interaction with other people. And it's starting to come back. To pre-pandemic proportions, which is good.
Yeah.
You have any more comments on that?
No, I mean, I think you've really highlighted how it's changed the way the industry works, and I think somebody that's starting out in the gaming space needs to understand and acknowledge those things, and that maybe a lot of people. I think a lot of people that start a game store are in the middle phase of life, and so they have some experience, maybe as a kid or as an adolescent and teenager, going into their early 20s where they've interacted with game stores and now they've worked for several years and are interested in opening a shop. Like, you have to remember, like, that you're not gonna you don't just hit the ground running with that social group. Like, you have to build the group of people that comes to the store, and I think that's what sets like a local game store apart and different from an online only retailer. These people that are selling sealed or singles product online but don't run the store or don't run the in-person events. It's a similar but different business, and it's hard because you do compete in terms of sales sometimes, but you don't compete on the front of like events and what the event space is, and how do you convert that into like a tangible benefit to you, because you're running a business, right? Like, the business, and part of that business is the event space.
Yep, that's important. Uh, all right,
um
all right. We're just going to go next week. Next week is the last week of the year, and I'm going to talk about. Well, it's our final podcast episode, and we'll discuss what businesses need to do with the future, with their eyes forward. Toward broader economic trends and adaptability. What they need to do to continue to grow uh, and prosper in the new year and beyond. That's what I plan on talking about next week as a main topic.
all right, well, I'm excited to hear about that and to prep for it. I think there's a lot of different things that we can talk about in terms of looking forward, taking some of the advice that we've given in the past and turning it forward looking and figuring out what folks can do to have success going into a new year. So, well, let's wrap that part up, John, then, and we can jump over to our three E's segment, where we talk about how we can educate, enlighten, and entertain the people that listen to our podcast. And with that, today, you have brought us, I believe, 45 amazing Christmas facts, but you've chosen not to share all 45. Did
Now,
you
I,
randomly
I wrote
select the
down
6 that are here?
I wrote down six that I want to just mention.
All
Uh,
right.
if I'm on a roll, I may grab a couple others. Uh,
Yeah.
number one, candy canes. Everybody likes candy canes. And when the candy cane was invented in Germany, it was made into a J for Jesus. The red stripes symbolize his blood. I never knew that. Did you ever know that why it became that? I
I,
thought it was easier to hang on a tree. But that's an interesting fact. You have any comments on that?
I mean, no, I knew that, but
You knew that?
yeah, I
It's because
mean,
you go to church. I,
yes, I was gonna. That's what I was gonna say. I go to church. We've talked about that
if I go
before.
to church, the lightning will hit it or something. Um,
No, just a choir of angels welcoming you, John.
yeah, I know. All right. Let me see. Number 17 on my list, which is second on my list, 17 on their list, Toys for Tots, which is a pretty important segment of the Christmas season, and for unfortunate children throughout the United States. It was founded in L.A. back in 1947, and 5,000 toys were collected during the first drive, and the first donation was a handmade doll. So it's been around for a number of years, and it's a good program, and I've donated to it before. Let me see, number three on my list, number 20. Americans purchase 1.6 billion Christmas cards every year.
That's crazy.
Isn't that unbelievable?
Yeah.
Hallmark, Hallmark, and American Greetings must love that
Well,
stack.
the new thing is to print your own, where you put like your family picture on it and stuff, and print it.
Get my age, you put it in, you put money in an envelope, send it to your grandson, saying, "I'm too damn cheap to get a card. Merry Christmas." Money talks. The card,
Yeah.
the card doesn't mean a damn thing anyway. They just throw them out. Um, Number four on my list. This is an interesting. Let me see. Where the hell is it? Number 27 on this. All right, number 27. A Facebook study in 2010 revealed that 2 weeks before Christmas is the most popular time for couples to break up. How about them apples?
Hmm.
So,
I mean,
by
I
way
can say as a person who practices in the area of divorce, people do come in at the beginning of the year with new ended relationships.
at the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah,
So,
they a lot of people hold on to it through the end of the holidays because they
so
don't
what's
want to
what's
upset
your
family.
advice? What's your generic advice for that?
Um, do what makes you happy. I mean, I don't think it matters one way or the other, but I mean, like I said, I think a lot of people hold on to relationships through the holidays, whether that's a marriage or a dating relationship or others, because they don't want to upset people, particularly third parties, other people that know your significant other or this person that you're cutting off a relationship with, and they hold on to it because they don't want to cause family drama in the holidays. But I mean, whatever works for you is the way it's going to
You're being sensitive. My advice: don't buy a Christmas present in advance for your significant other 2 weeks in advance.
go. Well, you got
It,
to buy them
it,
in
it, it,
October or else they sell out.
no, I mean, you wait for that 2 weeks, and if that 2 week period, you say, "Hey, I'm still going to be with her," then you can buy a present. But before that, don't buy anything. That's my advice.
There you go.
Um, all right, let me see. Number 5 on my list. Vancouver, the city of Vancouver, Canada, claims to be the birthplace of the first ugly sweater or ugly Christmas sweater party.
Oh,
How about them apples? And that's a big trend nowadays. Ugly sweaters, and there's a lot of ugly sweaters out there.
well, you know, the fashion world goes from like good looking to bad looking over and over, and it's cool to be ugly sometimes. But I just wear t-shirts and beanies and call it a day.
All right, in number 6 on my list, in 1980, the most popular selling Christmas toy was a Rubik's cube.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was at that time it retailed for about $1.99. However, now it's $10. So if you got an
Yep.
old Rubik's cube around the house, it went up what 5 times in value.
Yeah. Well, those are good. We've got a few Rubik's cubes at my house. The kids have learned how to do Rubik's things, so
Let me
that's
see
kind
if
of
there's
cool.
any. I mean, this was um, this. Oh, since you're in Wisconsin right now and I'm in North Carolina, the top 6 Christmas tree producing states are Oregon, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, Michigan, Washington, and Wisconsin.
Oh, that's interesting.
Isn't that, let me
And
pick
I knew
one of.
we had North Carolina. I know has a big population of Christmas trees. They grow them all across the state. Actually, it's not just a mountain thing. Did you know they have some really big Christmas tree farms down on the coast?
Yeah, I know. And some of those are genetically modified. Uh,
Yeah.
there was a thing on the other night about genetic, how genetics affect Christmas tree growth, and they're trying to get them to grow faster. The
Hmm.
typical Christmas tree takes about 15 years, before it matures. That it can be, reasonably cut for consumption or for display. And
Wow.
the tallest Christmas tree ever displayed was in Seattle, Washington. It measured 221 feet tall. That's pretty damn big.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's
There
a
was one
redwood.
other.
That's, I think they cut down a redwood for that.
There was one other. Let me if I can find it real quick. Talked about lights. Where the hell is it? Let me see. Just give me a minute. Oh yeah. Okay. Christmas lights were so expensive that they were used to be rented instead of sold. An electrically lit tree was a status symbol in the early 1900s. How's that?
Hmm.
Pretty good?
I mean, I guess I can see that. I mean, a lot of stuff was, it gets striated by like how much somebody has. You can do the more the fancier, right? I can't afford to do one of those singing Christmas lights displays on my house because the electric bills on those things are thousands of dollars. I hear, but
Yeah.
it looks cool.
Yeah, it looks cool, but financially, you're making the right decision.
Yeah.
Plus, it's a hell of a lot less work for you.
Well, there's that too.
You're still working on that, just the entertainment display, right? Or did you
Uh,
finish?
it's pretty close to finished. We got to finish the floor, and we need to do the one piece of siding. It'll be done.
When did you start it?
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
April, spring break.
Ooh, so it's only been what, 8 months?
Yeah.
You're slacking, Noah. You're slacking.
I'm not a home improvement person, so
All
I'm a
right.
card gaming person.
This is true. This is true.
Well, John, I think that's a good place for us to jump into our wrap up here. Folks, we're really grateful for you guys for listening to us here on Card Shop Insiders. We're thankful for your support and listening. And if you like the show, please like, subscribe, and follow us on all the different platforms, including YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. We're available on social media at Card Shop Insiders on both Instagram and X. And we are particularly grateful and would like to acknowledge our Patreon patrons, Ben, Grant, Brandon, Logan, Drayden, Jake, Brian, and Michael. Thank you so much for supporting our efforts. If you are interested in interacting with the show more or have questions that you'd like to share with us, please do so by leaving a comment on our last YouTube video. And finally, if you are able, willing, and interested in contributing to the show financially, you can join us up on Patreon, where the basic tier subscription includes behind the scenes videos that include a before and after recording of our podcast sessions, as well as a direct message channel that will allow you to get access to John and I to ask us questions outside of the public YouTube chain. We've been able to enjoy answering a couple questions that way, and we also try to answer those questions in the behind the scenes video after we finish this recording. So, John, that's all I got this week. I guess it's Merry Christmas and see you guys next week.
Merry Christmas, guys. I appreciate again you listening to us.